My name's Mark Coppens. I'm an agent down in Sarasota, Florida, and I run a team down here that is part of EXP. So I do work for a cloud brokerage. Transitioned from an independent brokerage to EXP a little over a year ago, I guess a year and a half.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe because I remember having this conversation with you earlier, Mark, but you were running an independent brokerage, and then I believe you brought like 50 or so agents over to EXP. Is that
we did. Yeah, we had a bunch independent, and then when we made the transition to EXP, we lost some agents that didn't necessarily agree with the brand and the approach and whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, brought about I think 60 agents actually with us over to EXP and started the team going. That was last January.
Got it. So you basically started a team within EXP
That's right.
and got it. And did you take any of the agents that sort of put them under your downline as well? Was that part of it?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, we put them, so all of them under my downline. So I have a business partner and then my wife as well. So we kind of tiered it three, we stacked us three and then all the agents underneath of us to kind of maximize their revenue share. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And was that transition from moving from an independent over to EXP primarily uh, the reason was, building that revenue share and then, organization? Or what was sort of the primary reason that you made the switch over from the independent over to a cloud-based virtual brokerage?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, running an independent brokerage is really difficult in general. And
Yeah.
there's just not a ton of money in it. I found that because I'm also a producing agent. So, you know, 90% of my time and effort was going towards 5% of my income. Um,
hmm
so when we transitioned, well, a few things. I was really looking for just adjacent revenue opportunities, right? So that we can someday
hmm
get off the hamster wheel of real estate.
Yeah.
So, having all the advantages of the revenue share and stock options and purchases and all that stuff, was really beneficial. But the biggest thing really was, again, the all of the administrative stuff of running a brokerage is tiresome. So
Yeah.
EXP, they said we love that stuff. Let us do that. You focus on production and recruiting
hmm
and we'll have a great relationship. And for me, it's been great. It's been a lot of it's less stress. My I at a certain point you figure out that time is your most valuable commodity. So,
Right.
my time is better spent now and focused correctly and doing things that I'm passionate about, which is coaching and working with clients. So it's been great.
Yeah. And you chose you made the move in 2025, which was last year. And I'm sure you had a lot of different options of, where you can sort of take, your 50 or 60 agents. And how did you arrive to EXP? And then how did you sort of conclude that EXP would be the best brokerage for your specific, situation? How did you sort of arrive to that conclusion?
Yeah, we had a bunch, being an independent brokerage, before we transitioned, we probably had 80 agents, right? Something like that. But we were doing maybe uh, 250 million a year in revenue. So
Yeah.
when you're that size, that's very tasty for big companies to come in and buy you. And we had a lot of offers over the years. But for me personally, it would have been a compromise to what I wanted to do with the brand and lose a lot of control. And so we kind of looked for a solution where we could still have a measure of independence. Uh,
hmm
and there was other players. EXP is not the only.
Right.
There's other cloud brokerages that could offer similar sort of things, but
Yeah.
EXP to me had the best, they're the largest of that group and can leverage a lot of things. My market is a lot of, we get a lot of international buyers and because I try to focus on a luxury level. So most of those buyers are from out of state. So having a large network and large agent count just kind of helps me referral wise. And so yeah, it was great. The cloud brokerage to me is the future, whether it's EXP or Real or any of the other ones. I think while I do have a brick and mortar location, I think that people are just generally doing things online, right? And more. And I think that's just gonna, with the introduction of AI, I think that's just gonna continue. So. But no, it's been a great match, and I know EXP is not for everybody, but
Yeah,
it works for me, and I like the size of it. I have a good relationship with the leadership, personally, so we were able to do some
yeah,
things, and that give us the independence that we wanted. So
yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's sort of the individuals like yourself that are now winning. And I also started noticing that a lot of these franchise brokerages, they're starting to offer more money back to their brokers and their owners and their team leaders. So, and that is due to the competition that is coming in from, brands like EXP and of course, Real and some of the other newer ones that are sort of coming in. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's the individuals now that are winning rather than the big corporations. So, um, I know like Real bought Remax, and that was sort of a big transaction that took place this year. So you can sort of start noticing a trend and this macro level, wave that is sort of happening in real estate, where the move is now towards cloud-based virtual, and simply because of how it's more efficient, more profitable, and there's just more of a money flow and there's more cash flow being generated there. So um, that's great. And you made the move over to EXP. But today, what is your main focus? Because I know you're running Lux Skills, which is your coaching program, and then you're also, selling real estate in the luxury market.
yeah,
And then at the same time, you have your EXP side of things. So what's sort of your main focus? Where are you putting majority of your attention?
yeah,
Where
that's
are
a
you
great
finding
question.
the highest ROI every time?
Yeah. Well, it's I said, time is my greatest commodity. But I've got one of those personalities that I guess I'm like a serial entrepreneur, right? That when I have free time, I fill it with something else. So
Yeah,
um it's a good question, and one that probably deserves, either a therapy session or a drink or two. Um, but right now, our focus or my focus is, I've got Luxscale, the brand, so separate company,
okay.
than the team. And really, I'm trying to grow that. So, our model's a little, I don't know that it's unique, but obviously, we started with you guys and learned everything, frankly, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But we kind of transitioned. My goal was always to have a standalone, not necessarily to help recruiting, but I'm going to get back to that because it's come full circle. And I started coaching and mentoring and doing kind of a high ticket product for that. And kind of had a strange encounter with somebody. It's a weird story. Somebody kind of walked in and it turned out he was all about lead generation and used to run a lead gen company for real estate agents, and that was kind of the spark of an idea of, why not, instead of just coaching, why don't we add leads to the coaching as well? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like an earn while you learn sort of program.
Hmm.
So we were able to drop the high ticket to, a moderately priced ticket item, and then tack on leads that we give as referrals to agents, and then collect a referral fee at the end. So we make the most of our profits when agents close. And then the front end is we're coaching them and giving them education, to help them do that. So it's been really cool. We're a few months into it. So it's still in the startup phase, but we've got 152 agents now in it
Yeah.
nationwide. So it's been really cool. But we're Um, we're transitioning from that because I am still selling real estate, right? And I need
Yeah.
to, I'm always going to make the most money doing that, I think. Uh, so I still do 50 to 100 million a year basically in sales, personal sales. And two things. Obviously, I make money from that, but it gives me the credibility and authority that I need to lead
Right.
the coaching program. Um, but as far as my team, because I'm a co-team leader, and now I have a business partner that runs most of the administrative stuff. But
Yep.
what we've decided to do, kind of the next phase of this, is now that we've built out this successful, coaching, training, education, and lead platform. I want to offer that and bundle that into incentivizing agents to join us at EXP, right? And
Mm.
basically give them leads, at a discounted rate to incentivize them to join us. And I'm not really aware of anyone that is really doing that. Actual leads. I know that there's a lot of teams and things that talk about stuff, but
Hmm.
so yeah, so that's next. So that's going to be like a next, we'll build out a whole funnel system and acquisition system behind it and run that as an EXP
Yeah.
sort of thing. Um, Sorry, that was a
Got
long
it.
answer to probably
Yeah.
what was a short question.
I got it. Yeah, yeah, I got it. So just to clarify and
Yeah.
just to be very clear, so you're running your coaching program, which is a high ticket program. So that is basically where you're selling information and you're sort of selling accountability. This is basically where you're taking your own knowledge and expertise from your own production, passing it on to agents, and that is the main value proposition there. And then you added, and that is sort of a DIY because if you're selling information, the agent needs to come in, consume that information, take action on that information, and then sort of get the result. That is the DIY type of a solution. And then your coaching is sort of the done with you part, which is the accountability that you're providing, with your weekly coaching or your one-on-one check-ins, whatever it is that you're doing. And then on the other side, you have a done for you service that you've already started. And just to be clear on that, because you said you're getting a referral fee on the back end, if you do provide the lead and that turns into a transaction. Um, what is sort of the pricing model there? Where are you generating these leads? Is it sort of like a Zillow model? Are you generating leads on Facebook? And do you have like an agency on the side? Is that like what does that operation sort of look like? Just to be more specific
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, yeah. So, at its heart, so on the education side, so the course side, the model is, or my niche is luxury real estate, right? So we basically take an agent and show them how to position themselves and generate leads and have greater conversion at the luxury level, right? So we scale them
Yeah,
up into luxury, right? So that at the education, like that's what we do. We take them and but you're right. It's do it yourself sort of stuff, right? And
yeah,
a lot of that at first was based on the white label, right? We use that to kind of get us going, and then we've since replaced that with kind of our own content. Um, but there's that, and then agents in that program, we've we've developed. So I have an in-house, lead generation team now. So it's a
okay,
combination of we do outbound calls, so that I have a call center. I wouldn't say a center, but I have a handful of callers and appointment setters. Um, and it's all at the luxury level. Like, so everything that we give, we guarantee that it's going to be at least two times the market average for wherever they live in that market. But often, it's two, three, four, five, six times. Um, but we do outbound prospecting, so calling. We'll do inbound. So, we're doing different campaigns and markets to generate buyer leads at the luxury level.
Yeah.
And yeah, we basically turn those over. So I have a whole team that does lead gen for me now, that we work that are ours. Of course, we offshored, most of that. Um,
Mm.
but so while you're learning how to break into luxury real estate, like on one side,
Yeah.
you're getting actual leads, right? And
Mm.
we call those referrals, and yeah. So when they get one of those, we are then coaching you how to have the call, how to convert at a higher level, how to displace agents that are already working there, that sort of stuff. And
Mm.
then when they close, we get a referral fee, a percentage of the closing. Um,
Got
so
it.
yeah.
Okay, so you're basically coaching on one side, which is showing them how they can generate their own leads. And the case study and the reason why they would believe you is because you're doing it yourself. You're actively still in production, and then you have the numbers to show for that. So you know, there's like that information holds weight, where someone else would come in and they would want to listen to that information. And then on the other hand, you have a done for you type of a service that is running. Now, that is very cool. So you're sort of like vertically integrating, within real estate. And that is sort of your funnel, into uh, getting people to join you at EXP. So not only are you using that as sort of a recruiting funnel, but at the same time, you're also helping the agents increase their production. So that is still you're providing value, and at the same time, um, it's sort of your attraction magnet to bring them in and into EXP. So that is very cool. Um, if you don't mind sharing some numbers on the coaching side and the referral fee side, what does that look like? I'm sure some months are higher, but what are you sort of averaging on the coaching side and the referral fee side? Because you are putting a lot of your time and attention towards it, so I'm assuming that it is a significant amount, and you're finding that to be a better use case of your time compared to just selling real estate forever and continue building your team. So what does that sort of look like?
Yeah, so I'll share everything. So we do there really isn't a high ticket. So that's the thing. We reduce that. We basically, if you want to enter the program, an agent will pay $495. And we actually call it a deposit because we give that back to them at their first closing.
Mm,
So it's kind of, yeah, it's an interesting way to word it, and there's a lot less friction when we say that. Um, so, they pay 495, and we call it a deposit, but that gives us a little bit of money to start covering costs, right? In reality, we're not covering costs on agents until they close something. So we are a little selective up front about who we work with, and it's funny because I found in doing that it makes it more desirable, actually.
yeah,
Um, so that's kind of that's easy cash, right? That comes in. We've been for the last, I say we're averaging maybe, let's say, one agent a day, maybe a couple agents a day. Um, And the thing is the cycles are a little longer because we'll get them in, we're going to give them referrals, and then typically, they're going to get a listing eventually, and then it
hmm,
takes a little while to close that. So um, there's certainly some risk. There was up front. We just started getting referrals in. Um, so, it's probably a better position to talk to me 6 months from now and ask me what the true financials are.
yeah,
Um, but right now we're making money, so we're profitable. So we're covering all of our costs, and on the cost side, it's probably like 25,000 a month for all the labor and all the data pools and systems and stuff we do.
hmm,
So it's significant. I mean, it's a lot different from when it was a one-man show.
yeah,
I've kind of invested everything back in and grown the team, but model wise, we basically take 20%, depends on the price of the home. If it's under twice the average of that area, we take a 25% referral fee. But
Yeah.
most of them are going to be, at least two times higher price wise. So usually it's a
Mm,
20% referral fee on the back end. So, you know, the average listing that we're referring is like 1.9 million. Uh, so, a 20% fee on that, financially, the model looks really good if you map it out.
yeah.
It's, but again, we need to be selective. We got to be selective who comes in because if you don't sell, then we're just losing money on agents.
Right.
Um, but the model that we do for agents, the risk is on us, or they perceive that the risk is on us. Now they've got a little bit of money in, right? $500. It's
Yeah.
not nothing, so they're still there's a little bit of skin in the game for them, so that they have to make
Yeah.
calls. They want to follow up and stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah,
Got
it's
it.
it's been cool. It's been fun. It's been stressful.
Yeah. No, like I like the model. You're basically getting a $500 commitment from them because you are giving them access to a set of leads where there's a hard cost to generate that lead, and they're putting some money in the line. They're making a bet, so there's some skin in the game for them, and then that way they're also going to be committed with working that lead, following up with them, and paying attention to that lead. If there's money in the line,
Yeah,
so it's also a good way to filter out the agents that were going to leave anyways and that were not going to put in the time and effort towards real estate. So it's a good way to sort of filter out the tire kickers and the agents that are non-motivated, that are likely not going to stick around in real estate for too long. So it sort of serves as a filter, and then at the same time, it does cover some, onboarding cost per se for you,
yeah,
and then you definitely get a chance to, give that back. Um, I remember it's sort of like the win your money back offer that Hermosi teaches, in his book. So it is sort of similar to that. In terms of generating, getting that, you know, cut off of their commissions, if they do close a deal. Um, is that because that is sort of dependent on the quality of the agent, right? So is that where you're placing like majority of your bet? Because there's a lot of variables that you sort of don't have control over. One is being the market,
yeah,
interest rates, that is sort of a variable in that sort of a model. And then you have the agent themselves, what is the quality of the agent? Are they going to be following up? And then of course, you have your hard costs, which are coming in month over month. So are you placing a bet on that sort of a model? And, you know, is it working? Does it look promising? And is that sort of the bigger picture and then what you're looking forward to in the future?
yeah. The model looks very promising, right? Again, it's still too early, I guess, to say for sure. But we've accounted for those variables, I'll say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a lot of it is selectivity on the way in, and then honestly, it's the level of coaching and training that we give them. So we focus more on conversion of the initial appointment, right? So how to win the listing appointment. Um, and then selling the properties, right? Because at the end of the day, they could win a listing that we give them and then not sell the house.
Hmm.
So, there's a lot of training that goes into that. And we have a whole like a client commitment. So, they sign up and they have to do certain things, right? When they get a referral, they have to, call, text, email, and then send a video of themselves and then drop off a
Okay.
pre-listing package and like all the steps that like we know makes them more successful. They sign up to do that. Just again, because we don't make any money if they don't close. So we're really
Right.
trying to increase. the chances of them converting on as much as we can. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's a lot of variables that we can't control, market wise, agent wise, who knows, opportunity wise.
Yeah,
Um, so, but again, at a volume, when you're dealing with those numbers, 20, 30% of higher priced and it helps that they're higher priced properties, right? If this were
right.
just normal, $300,000 homes, I don't know if the finances would be there, but everything we
Yeah,
refer out, they're all million and above sort of properties. So at that level and at scale, the numbers look really good actually. So,
yeah. Um,
and I
and
don't know that
it,
anyone else is doing that. I mean, there's a lot of like lead gen or referral companies out there, obviously. But they just kind of give you leads. So their
yeah,
measure is if they give you 10 leads, then they've done what they're supposed to do, right? Where ours is we don't really care about the leads, we care about the closings.
right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the way you're monetizing is only if they close the deal. So you're sort of incentivized to give the highest quality lead. And I think one of your moats is the way you guys are sourcing the lead and the way you guys are generating it. Because not only are you doing it for yourself, but then you're doing it for other people, and then you're taking a cut. So um, that is sort of your moat. But it's the quality of the lead, and then number two, doing everything in your power to help with the conversion part of that lead as well. And
Yeah.
only then the model would work, right? Because you guys have like 25K a month in overhead and fixed cost. So the model would only make sense then. Now, if we're talking about how this is working as a funnel into EXP, um, what does the recruiting part look like? Like how many agents are you guys bringing in per month, per quarter, per year?
Yeah, well, I'm a really crappy recruiter, unfortunately. So that's the
Yeah,
next step. I wanted to establish this as a model that it works, right? And now to bring eight, because right now we're working with doesn't matter, like Compass agents, Remax doesn't matter.
yeah.
Um, but the next phase of this is, obviously since I work for a revenue share organization, take advantage of that. So what we're going to build out or started to is the same model, right? So they'll have access to all of that training and coaching and leads and referrals, but at a discounted rate, right? So we'll incentivize them. Hey, you can stay at Compass and join us, but you're paying this referral rate, or you can join my team at EXP and you're paying something significantly less.
Mm,
So I think that's the model that we're gonna use and we'll make that loss up just in revenue share. Um, and then, downline, building and exponentially, growing is my intent. I haven't in full disclosure, we haven't done that yet. That's kind of the next thing. But now I've got something that works and I can point to it and I'm not aware that anyone else at EXP is actually giving leads. I know that people like kind of say they do. I don't know.
yeah,
So we'll
yeah.
see. Again, I need to be very careful because I know that you're not allowed to like recruit or what is the rule with EXP? I think all these guys like you can't like offer one thing for the other or something like that or
I I I think EXP is far more lenient, but I know there's a rule with Real where uh if you're gonna charge one agent like $500, you're gonna charge every agent $500. You can't discount it to incentivize them to join Real.
oh, I see.
So
Yeah.
it's sort of like I know EXP is far more lenient and they allow far more than what a company like a brand like Real would allow.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware that with Real, you can be like, hey, like if you come join me at Real, I'll give you my coaching program for 5K instead of 10K. Can't do that with Real. So and but with the XP, you could just directly just run ads targeting agents saying that, hey, if you come join me at EXP, I'm going to offer X, Y, and Z to you, including coaching, done for you services, whatever.
Yeah.
So um, that is the one big benefit of being with DXP. You have far more flexibility in terms of what you can do. Um, but um, but yeah, like what you're essentially doing is you're trying to provide as much value as possible, all the way from done for you to DIY. You're providing leads, and there's not really much more that you can do than just providing leads. And you're doing it for expensive homes, homes that are for like 2 million, 1.5 and above.
Yeah.
Um, of course, that's also a byproduct of where you live and the market. But same thing here, like we live in Vancouver and the average price of a home here is like 1.5, 2 million. So you know, a a broker, a team leader here could also do something very similar to you because the economics would make sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like someone in, like some town in Texas, they might not be able to do that, right?
No, we've got agents I'll say in the heartland, and for them, uh, their average price is 300,000. So, they're very happy when we give them like $700,000 homes and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
I learned that everybody loves coaching and training and stuff, but really what they want is leads, and even, coaching is a
yeah,
byproduct of leads. So, um, I don't know. I think it's going to be, hopefully it'll be something we can leverage and use. And, I'll be right back in and needing help for all that sort of, side, because I'm just not, I could have been doing that now. And, I know that you guys, you lean hard into, um, especially when there's affordability issues and things like that, right? Offer them different, whatever, call it a scholarship or something. And but
yeah,
they have to join. Yeah. So that'll be the kind of next approach is to do that, side by
yeah,
side. And
yeah,
um,
yeah. How,
so
how how are you bringing people over? Like, how are you letting people know about your coaching program and uh the lead service? I personally know what you're doing, but just for the people watching, are you running paid ads? Are you posting content? Are you doing direct outbound? Just calling agents off the MLS, or like what is sort of your approach to let people know that I've got this cool coaching program, I've got this cool lead service. How are you letting people know?
yeah, most of ours has been Facebook, Instagram ads, at 100% actually. So we haven't gone into YouTube. I mean, obviously we tried the organic stuff, but mainly ads. I'll run. I think we probably run maybe $400 a day now in ad spend. It wasn't always that. We started at $100 a day and ran that like for a long time, and really zeroed in on the creative. And we got to the point where our we were getting like $4 a lead or something like that. Like really a tremendous like lead cost. And now, granted, a lot of those were tire kickers, right? Because we did Insta forums. I've talked to you about our kind of our
Yeah.
progression through Facebook, but
Yep.
we lean into Facebook, and I still think it is the best lead source, based on how you can target. And you just need to have a variety of different ads, and try different things at different times, and always check your numbers and make sure things match up and make sense. And um, so that's been the biggest thing for us. And then once we get leads, then there's a whole conversion process, and making sure people show up for meeting, for demo calls and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
um, yeah.
So okay, so you're spending $400 a day, which is four times three. So you're spending about 12,000 per month on average.
Yep.
And then you said you're charging $500 on the front end.
Yeah.
So how does that math work? Like, do you gotta sell like a certain amount of agents to break even, and then you're sort of relying on them to uh join, and then of course close the deal? Is that sort of the model, or are you like sort of in the red in the front end, and then
Yeah.
you sort of make it on the back end?
You're in the red in the front end, so our costs are higher than what we take in on the 495. That that will cover maybe 60% of the costs, what we
Okay.
take in.
Got it.
Maybe a little higher, but yeah. So it's not sustainable just on that intake fee, right? There has to be referrals paid.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of referrals, right, from there, it only takes like two or three of those a month to hit,
Right.
and honestly, we're at the point now where I think last month we sent out almost $2 billion in referrals, like a crazy number. We're
Hmm.
we're we're doing like 25 a day that we're referring out, and each one of those is like 2 million. So whatever that number
Mm.
is, it's a big number. So I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, we just need a few of those to hit. So
Got it.
um,
Got it. Okay.
and if yeah, if something, even if you're only, I mean, shit, man, if we're only like at 3% conversion on the leads that we send out, I mean, it's
Yeah.
still a big number. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we run Facebook, into a funnel page, sort of system that we'll
Yeah.
change around, and then yeah,
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So, okay, that makes far more sense. So you're basically like the way I'm looking at the $500 fee that you guys are charging is sort of a way to liquidate the ad spend. And then you guys are
yep,
liquidating about like 60% of the ad spend. And then that does allow you to bring in far more people, in. And then it also does serve as a filter to bring in high quality agents. And then on the back end, because of your unique sort of done for you service, very similar to what Zillow has, you're providing these leads and then you're just two, I'm likely assuming the 1 to 2 deals a month, 1 to 2 transactions a month at that $2 million price point. It sort of covers for all of that. And any deal above that is sort of money in your back pocket and profit.
yes,
So that
exactly.
entire model, makes sense. Um, uh, so
Yeah, and really, so the 495, it's more than 60% of total cost. So, but yeah, that covers more than makes up what we pay in ad spend.
yeah,
So yeah.
okay. Um, have you thought about increasing the price point from like $500 to potentially 8,000? Um, and have you thought about adding in anything recurring or um, how did you sort of arrive to this?
Yeah, this is the stuff that I think about at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because
yeah,
it's until you try something, it's hard to know how the market would react to it. So in the beginning, we did have a higher fee, um, and just a lot of pushback and fewer agents, um, and just different concerns, and it seemed to attract a different type of agent when we did that.
hmm,
And then we tried for a short period of no upfront fee, right? And then that attracted a different kind of agent that wasn't the best.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I wouldn't say, a moderate increase would be out of the, even like you said, if it was 995 or something like that, just under 1,000. Because even now, and this is going to sound strange, we'll run into people that are like, well, this is too good to be true. Like it seems
yeah,
too cheap for so there's a little bit of that. And then plus if it's $1,000, like it's still affordable, but if it's not affordable, then maybe you don't want those agents in your program anyway.
yeah,
So there's that. And then the recurring, like I don't do any recurring, right? When we bring
mm,
an agent in, we build out. So I've got a customized, go high level sub account that's has every bell and whistle you can imagine. We give that to them for free. So we
yeah,
could, turn that into a paid account that we're taking money on. So I'm sure there's different things we could do to kind of maximize a little more on the front end. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I'll tell you what I think. I think the constraint in your business is not bringing in more agents, personally, in my opinion. Uh, you can have, all you need is just quality agents to be part of your program. And then even if you have five, the real constraint becomes the number of high quality leads that are going to convert. I think that is really the real constraint. Because if I were you, I mean, what I would do personally, if I were in your shoes, is I would even 10x that pricing on the front end from $500 to 5,000, but limit the amount of agents you're going to bring in. And the people that do pay 5K, they're they're currently producing, meaning that they do have some funds available to be able to pay 5K. And you bring in high quality people, and then the constraint really only becomes how many leads could you generate and send to these people. Because it does sound too good to be true, in my opinion. Like it does sound too good to be true. Where like I would limit the amount of people, I would limit the amount of uh agents, I would set a cap as to how many you bring in. And I mean, if you're charging 5K, you're only gonna have to get two agents per month, and that pays for your ad spend for the entire month. And instead of liquidating 60%, you'll end up liquidating 100% of your ad spend. You bring in the really uh you'll be bringing in like the top 10% of agents or the top 1 to 5% of agents. And then the constraint really becomes, okay, how many quality leads could we generate that are going to end up converting? And it could also be that if you're bringing in agents that are paying 5K instead of the $500, your conversion rate on the leads that you're providing might jump from maybe 1%, 5% to maybe 10 to 15% because of the quality of the agent that you're providing that lead to. So I don't really think you need too many agents. What you really need are quality leads,
Higher
if
quality. Yeah.
high quality, where because that is where you're generating majority of your money and just sending it to your best people
Yeah.
in reality. Because if your main monetization vehicle is really on the back end, which is like getting a 20% cut, 25% cut, whatever cut that you're taking, uh, that is sort of the constraint, right? That would
Yeah.
be the one area that I would really be focusing majority of your attention on. But what that would really mean is that uh, you may need to potentially go from like a B plus sales process to like an A plus. Like you would have to get better at sales. Uh, More specifically, your demo call to bring the agent in and to get them to pay 5K. But from there, your only focus would be, okay, how do we generate quality leads that are, you know, ready to buy very soon? There's urgency. The timing is right for them. They're pre-approved. They're
Yeah.
budgeted. They're willing to buy like a $2-3 million house and just send them over to those people, right? I think
Yeah.
that is what I would do if I were in sort of your shoes, right? So that
Yeah,
would
it's good.
be,
It's good advice, and it's stuff that we are thinking about. And
yeah,
right now, even now, our focus really is on the fulfillment side. It's I got to have high quality stuff to give out. Getting agents in isn't necessarily a problem. I mean, there's a whole process to that, obviously, and expense. But um, so what we actually have started to do is uh, outreach, right? So we'll see high performing agents in different markets, and just we're contacting them directly, and it feels awkward, right? Because we're literally, I wouldn't say cold, I guess we are cold calling agents,
yeah,
and just based on their production and what we kind of see, um,
yeah,
because otherwise it's really hard. It's hard to reach, high performing agents. It's kind of hard to
yeah.
segregate that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think your offer is so good that you're like severely undercharging because your offer is like insane. You're essentially giving Zillow level leads to agents that are gonna buy like these $2-3 million homes, right? The commission on that is massive. That's like a 25 to 50K commission check,
Yeah, at
right? So
20%. And we're
yeah,
telling you exactly how to close it, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So like what I would do
Yeah.
if I were
Well,
in
we
your
get that
shoes is
reaction. That I wouldn't say common, but that is a reaction
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, like what I would do if I were you, like if I were in your shoes, I would be charging 5 to 10K upfront because not only are you providing coaching, but you're also providing these Zillow level leads. And then on the back end, you would make the money, right? So and that way you would only need like one or two conversions per month, and how many agents pay you 5 or 10K, and that would pay for your entire ad spend. And now you have less agents to work with too, less complexity and less team members to be able to talk to all these different agents that are coming in, right? So there's higher efficiency there. It's
Yeah.
very similar to like a high ticket coaching program, right? The same thing. So that would be my only piece of advice and something that maybe you could think about and ponder on. But in terms of uh, working with us, so I believe you've been working with us for more than a year now. How has that experience been like? What have been some of the biggest key takeaways, and uh, what have been some of the biggest transformations that you've been able to make working with us as a company?
Yeah, I think I mean obviously all of the logistics behind everything, right? Setting up from A to Z. Um, but one of the most valuable things I took away from you guys is just this is going to sound really simple, but in the very beginning, you guys do a lot of work learning about the avatar, right? And positioning and all that stuff about who your client is and how you then like reposition everything to reach them. And I think you guys do that in the context of like making your claim and your offer and stuff like that. But that little nugget alone, really transformed me and how I approach clients in general, but obviously, with this and like developing that like persuasive sort of hook. Like I've incorporated that in all aspects of my, just real estate in general, and it's been great. But I'd say that, for me, I have a quick grasp on things like technology wise. So maybe, it's a little easier for me to pick up on things, but the way you guys do, everything from the ads to the funnel construction and Arjun is just amazing. Like I don't know if he's your business partner or he's a salary guy or not, but like great, like double that guy, whatever he is, give him another soda or something. But um
Yeah,
just a great asset and really just being able to walk you through every step and do it in a way that things aren't complicated. Like it's very easy to understand, and you take baby steps progressing through things. And it seems like very daunting, but it's broken down in easy steps. And then eventually you've created this big thing that, you look back on, at least I did, and I was like, wow, like I just made this.
yeah,
And then, you spend the rest of your time like, whittling away at things. But yeah, to me, it's been just invaluable learning how to set up ads on things and how to, make sure they're creatively written the right way to attract people. And then, all the back end stuff that you guys do is the baseline for everything that I do now. And I couldn't have done it. I mean, just I would have never even thought of doing it, right? So you guys introduced me to the concept of Asian attraction and just high ticket sort of stuff in general and gave a clear roadmap and it's been great and I can't thank you guys enough for everything you've done and continue to do so.
awesome. I mean, I appreciate those words, and if we had to, they don't have to be exact numbers, but if we just had to get a little bit like analytical and just talk about some metrics and KPIs, what numbers have you been able to hit? That could be related to recruiting, that could be related to new revenue, new cash, new profit, new money to your bottom line. Um, Anything that would sort of give a viewer as to what sort of value were we able to provide, and that would sort of give a gist of this is where you were currently at, what you were currently generating, and you added on agent attraction IO as a service, and it went from this number to sort of this number. So if you had to give sort of like a ballpark around that, what would that sort of look like? And it could be related to anything. It could be related to your coaching revenue. It could be related to new agents recruited. I mean, it could really be to anything.
Boy. Yeah, I mean, so
Ballpark,
mine's
ballpark.
difficult, right? So mine's,
Yeah,
it's still a work in progress.
yeah,
So, but before I switched to the adding lead conversion, when I was just doing pure coaching, I could have been very satisfied with that because I was adding, maybe three or four or five, new high ticket, clients a month that, 6 grand a pop. So it was very great and good numbers. You know, 20,000 extra or so a month, including costs and stuff. Um, which is great, just on the number side. Again, I never truly took advantage of the agent attraction side of that. But I think in this day and age, um, real estate is, you know, I like to say you got to treat real estate like the gold rush, right? The people that made money off the gold rush weren't the miners. It
Right.
was the people selling, the shovels and the tents and all that sort of stuff, right? So if you're a smart agent, you're going to dig for gold, but you're also going to sell some shovels and tents and all that sort of stuff. This is one of those areas that you can, really look at adjacent revenue streams, continue doing the stuff you know and love, attract agents, get in, do some coaching and mentoring, and really add to, your revenue each month. And, for me, when I did the coaching side, that was probably 20,000 a month or so without really trying a whole lot, honestly.
Yeah.
Just using the things that you gave us. And now that I've added leads to it, models are, they're looking pretty good. We're gonna, again, just a few closings and we'll get 6 figures a month easily.
Hmm.
And, if we scale that the way we hope we can, we can do 7 figures a month. Is very realistic, all
Oh yeah.
based on, what we started here. So,
Yeah. Mark, I appreciate you, jumping on for the hour and taking time
yeah,
out of
man.
your, busy schedule. But I
I'm
would love
sorry
to
I'm not
do.
like the normal sort of client. I'm a little different,
No.
So,
I mean, I would love to do something like this again, like a year from now or like 2 years from now and see
yeah.
how we sort of progressed from here.